So we see three things. We see a health insurance nationalization and mandate. We see budgets for your doctors. We see committee medicine. And then we see expanded government and corporate control that will be used to ration. The Secretary of Health and Human Services, Catherine Sebelius, will be given the powers of a queen to call what is quality, to say what is efficiency, and that queen must be satisfied by sacrificing at her altar. We will not let government control medicine through Catherine Sebelius. And finally, the fifth component are economically unsustainable programs. Let's look at the expanded entitlements. Where does the money come from? It comes from the hot printing press of the Federal Reserve. It comes from borrowed money from China. Well, that's going to destroy our economy and burden our children for decades with debt that they can't afford. We are going to be taking from Medicare a promise that should have been kept. Instead of transforming Medicare slowly, they're simply going to cut $500 billion out and ration your care and create another entitlement class. We can't afford it, Washington. Cut back on the entitlements. There are many, many better ideas for health care. We should have interstate purchasing of real, low-regulation health care. There's no reason that people in Massachusetts shouldn't be able to buy lower-cost insurance from Idaho. There's no reason we can't create low-cost insurance in Florida and sell it to people in New York. Let's compete on how little the state can control our lives, not on how much they can control our lives. There's no reason you shouldn't get an individual tax break when you buy insurance outside of work. You should be able to take your insurance with you when you leave your job. You should have just as much money and power in your pocket, in your hands, outside of the job as on the job. Give that right to America. And whatever happened to charity? There was once a time when people decided who they were going to help. We didn't give our money to the government, and they forced us to help someone that some arrogant elite felt needed help. Let's bring charity care back into America. I could go on and on, but now I need to ask you for action. We need to do things more than simply complain about the problems. We need to recognize how we can succeed and prevail. And that's why each of you needs to stand strong with Bill Mckalip as he sues the federal government all the way to the Supreme Court. No mandates. And in Tallahassee right now, the Senate is passing through the Health Care Freedom Act, which will say that Floridians will not suffer under the D.C. mandate. Do you want to pass the Health Care Freedom Act? Well, then I need each and every one of you to do something. I need each and every one of you to tell the House leaders who are holding it up, Representative Cannon, Representative Creedle, Representative Reagan, Representative Galvano, give us our freedom, House leadership. Give it back now. These House leaders are denying passage in the House. You need to go to myfloridahouse.gov and bug them until they give you your freedom. Tell them to pass the Health Care Freedom House Act next week. And then we need to go to D.C. and we need to repeal Obamacare piece by piece until we get rid of the entire thing. We'll get rid of penalties for physicians who spend money on their patients. We'll get rid of mandates that drive up our costs and empower insurance companies with guaranteed profits. And then we'll dare Obama. We'll say, Mr. Obama, we dare you to veto this mandate repeal. Mr. Obama, we dare you. Veto these to the end to the penalties for physicians. Mr. Obama, go ahead, stand up for insurance companies so they get better profits when people are paying higher taxes. You see how quickly his poll numbers drop down into the teens. But we can't repeal any of this if we don't have good people in Congress. And that's why I'm supporting people like Marco Rubio, who will fight. And that's why we have a great opportunity here in Tampa with Kathy Castor in District 11, who said, oh yes, we must mandate insurance to take away rights. Do you want to get rid of Kathy Castor? I can feel the love. Well, there's two great candidates in this crowd running. There's one on the Democrat side and there's one on the Republican side that I like. The Democratic side, Mr. Tim Curtis is running, and if you're a Democrat, you need to help him get Kathy out in August. Are you going to help Tim if you're a Democrat? And then, since I vote on the R side, I found a candidate that I like. I found a candidate that's a Republican who's a conservative like me, a small businessman, one who's met a budget, one who's had to stand up and just make the hard choices, one who's never been in the rarefied air of Washington working special deals. When I look at this man, I'm looking at myself, and that's why I'm voting for Eddie Adams and working every day to get him elected. Come up here, Eddie. Eddie can open doors that have been closed. Eddie can open doors that have been closed to Republican candidates, because Eddie Adams will stand up and he will say to people of all color that the Republican Party is a party of opportunity and wealth and choice. I'm going to finish up. I hear the hook. So there's a lot we must do. But each one of you is going to have to work for your candidate, you're going to have to walk for your candidate, you're going to have to research for your candidate, and we need to take back freedom peacefully, because we don't need violence. That's what the left would have us believe, is we're a bunch of violent people, because when freedom is on the march, peaceful means is all that is required to gain back our freedom. So I'm going to close with this oath, and I'm going to ask you to respond yes if you agree with what I say. I pledge to fight every day for individual freedom. I embrace peace and reject violence to achieve freedom. I demand limited government, free markets, and individual liberty in America. I will keep my children free by ending spending that puts them in debt. I refuse to take from others what I can produce for myself, and I will provide charity when I choose. I will work to elect people to restore government that limits the power of the government according to the Constitution and cut spending and taxes. And finally, I will pass the spirit of freedom to future generations. Thank you very much, and let's fight to take back our country.
David Mckalip, Libertarian candidate for president in 2012.